What is up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 7 of the Golden Dice podcast. As always, I've got my trusty sidekick, my co-host, Tommy.
What's up, Jack? How you doing? Thanks for having me again.
Fantastic, man. Of course I'm going to have you. You're my co-host.
I can't. This doesn't seem right.
And with us, we have a special guest this week. We have Rebel Gray.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
Of course. No, I'm always glad to be a special guest, quote unquote.
Very special. I mean, your videos I've always enjoyed because they're a little bit different from, just not the normal, these are the decks that won. You go real in depth. You know, I remember your Mulligan video and percentages and pitching reroll and, all that crazy stuff. And I was just like, this is way over my head, but I need to watch this a few times and make sure I understand. So you definitely put out some quality content for a lot of people who might be new to the game in general.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I definitely try to do stuff sort of off the beaten path. And I know that some of the discussions are really technical, but I feel like there's some value in them for new players all the way to advanced players.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good for advanced players to either hear it again and for new players to hear it for the first time. So Rebel will, of course, be plugging at the end of the show, but write it down on your notebooks right now. All the listeners, go check out Rebel Gray if you haven't already. So starting off, of course, we do our weekly recap of our Monday tournament. Tommy was unable to attend again, so it was just me. So of course, I will keep it brief, but I've been taking the opportunity for Mondays for me to practice a little bit with decks that I don't normally run or decks that I think could appear in tournaments. So I get a chance to play with them. So I kind of know how they operate. And with that, I ran Elite Kylo 2, Elite Talzin, and it had 28 odd costed cards. I've been writing a pretty in-depth analysis of it every week. I think it's usually posted on Fridays over at iRebel. So there you can see the deck list and kind of what I chose and ran and stuff like that. But here I'll say first round I played against Zebre. Felt pretty even. I should have called yellow a little bit more, but that's a pretty good deck against Kylo's ability anyway, simply because, it's got at least 6 of the gray ambush weapons to already split up the deck a little bit. Any hyperspace jump twice and double force illusion, double caution. So by the time I actually killed Ray, I had taken quite the beating and he was easily able to wipe it up after that. So he definitely was able to just play out the long game, cheat out some damage, and then hyperspace jump away from from taking any damage. So he was able to take that. Played against Luke Finn the next round, and that was one of the early decks I tried with. I knew it was a lot of red, so I was able to hit it a lot, and that was generally able to sweep up that. Nothing too crazy. So 1-1, and then I got basically a perfect matchup against Ayla Padawan, and just kind of burned through that. I said blue every time, but the last 2 rounds I actually got Sound the Alarm back-to-back rounds, which felt bad, but at that point I was pretty much in control of the game. So sitting at 2-1, and then I go and I face Scott, who we've mentioned before, who not only is a great player, but he was playing Hero Vehicles, which has, a good mix of every single color, not just of the 3 main colors, but a lot of gray too. So that one I just felt completely out of control of. He destroyed me. Ezra stole my resources. I couldn't pay for anything. So that was a rough time. But Kylo Talzin definitely feels like a good deck. I liked it a lot. I don't know if either of you have experience with it, but it was fun piloting it. I like Talzin, but Kylo started to frustrate me a little bit, especially in the meta that we're in now.
Yeah, I think it's tough to just rely on his ability for that extra damage to make up for... I mean, his dice aren't horrible. He's got 50% damage sides, 2 sides, one's paid, but... I mean, he is a character that wants his ability to trigger. I mean, when you get so used to it, hitting in those mono matchups or that dual color deck where you know they're favoring one color over another and you can consistently grab 2 damage, it feels really powerful. And when you can't, it leaves a lot to be desired. Talzin's ability to correct your dice, though, is super reliable and good if your deck's constructed properly, but Kylo's upside on his dice isn't as high as anybody with a 3-side, really. I mean, even if you have to pay, it's just... You get into that weird spot where all your removal costs 1. Kylo, you need to pay for his damage once in a while. I think it's a good deck, but if you know you're going to face a lot of mono color decks, like maybe following these regionals, if you anticipate Sabine taking over.
Yeah, I don't know that Sabine's going to take over, but yeah, I mean, it's with looking at who's winning these regionals, and there's such a wide variety of decks, and we're going to talk about that later. Kylo's power levels kind of not as high as it was coming out of Empire at War.
Yeah, definitely. It was interesting too. Out of, I think we had 8 people, either 8 or 10, because it was an even amount. I know that, but there were 4 people running Taliesin too, so she was well represented. But yeah, Kylo's definitely taken a hit with all the. I mean, Sabine Ezra's probably really the only monocolored deck you'll see that you're probably testing much against. I mean, there's the Hero Blue 3-wide that you might want to run a game or two against just to practice and know that matchup, but generally Sabine Ezra is probably going to be the only monocolored deck you'll face. So Kylo's really not going to shine. At least I don't think in any of the regionals, but I could be proven wrong if everybody brings Sabine. But the way, I mean, like Rebel said, the way the meta's been working, I'm not sure one deck will necessarily skyrocket. It'll be a constant, rock, paper, scissors type thing.
Yeah, I mean, and even with Sabine, you can't rely on it being entirely mono because not everyone's running in with her with Ezra. Some people are running her with one die Yoda or one die Kanan, so sometimes people are running her one die with Poe still. I've still seen that. So there's a lot of mix-ups with Sabine, and the decks are all really good. They've got their tricks.
So yeah, so that's my analysis, short analysis of Kylo Taliesin. If you want more, you can check out that article that'll be posted on Friday from iRebel. Moving on, we'll start to get into legacies. So the first one I'll mention was the Miami one in Florida with 53 people. And the top 8 was E. Sabine, E. Ezra, Riken, Yoda, Jeddah, E. Ayla, E. Rose, Ezra, E. Sabine, Yoda, E. Tarkin, E. Mother, E. Boba, E. Seven Sister, E. Ayla, E. Rose, Ezra, and E. Obi, E. Maz was the top 8 for that. And now, we won't go too in depth to that because Knights of Ren was there. Sugi was there specifically, and he did a lot of great coverage for that. So there's nothing more that we could really say to expand upon that. But I do find it hilarious. And I don't know if you guys listen to Knights of Ren, but apparently there was one local meta, maybe from Orlando, I think. About 11 of them came, and they all brought Boba Seven Sister.
I listened to that
at a 50-something person tournament. There were like 11 people running the same exact deck.
That is crazy. I think he said they were cannibalizing each other, knocking each other into the lower brackets, and it's madness. But if your play group thinks you have a deck that's, a next level deck and no one's going to know how to play against it, I guess that makes sense.
Oh, I mean, yeah, unless it's 10 other people who know how to play against it.
Part of me wants to think I would be the guy, or think that I would be above this, but in reality, it'd be like, oh, everybody from my local group's bringing this. I'll tech this one card in case I play against them.
Take that, Joe.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was good regional, good turnout. 53 people is not too bad. We got spoiled the other week with 96 and 97 in San Diego and Kentucky, but 53 still a good number. And a really good coverage from Knights of Ren. And with that, Sabine Ezra relates over to the Boonton one as we go through that because it was the same deck list that took second in Boonton. So I'll go through and I'll say the top 8 from Boonton, which had 75 people in New Jersey. The winning deck was E7 Sister, Sienna Night Sister, piloted by Honestly Sarcastic. And then we got Sabine Ezra, piloted by Bobby Sapphire. Then we have Tarkin Seven Sister, which is piloted by Joe, who's somebody in our local meta we mentioned a few times here, and he partnered a lot with Tommy in kind of making that deck list. Then we have E. Ayla, E. Po 2, and this is actually the same guy that beat me in Store Championship Finals, so, I hate him a lot, but no, he's a really nice guy. He's a really good player, so it doesn't surprise me to see him getting in the top 4. Below that, we got another Tarkin Seven Sister. We have an E. Sabine Kanan, and then we have a E. Yoda, single die Maz, single die Hera, and that is Riggs, who is also from our Monday night tournaments. And we have a E. Taliesin Ibala, First Order Stormtrooper, and that is Cody. And he is also from our Monday night tournament. So 3 of the top 8 are from our Monday night top deck in Haddonfield, New Jersey, or Westmont, or whatever it's specifically in, making that. And Tommy, you're disappointment, man.
I am a disappointment, Jack. I can't even verbalize how disappointed I am with all the work that I put in, and I was devastated. I was pretty let down. It was a bad feeling.
It's not a big deal.
I feel like I let you down, Jack. I personally dropped the ball for you.
Yeah, man. I'd spent like 100 hours on making this giant poster. Golden Dice beats Hyperloops, and now it's just all to waste. So thanks for that, man.
The Eagles stole my mojo. The Hyperloops from New England. We're from Philly. The Eagles got the Super Bowl. I'll bite the bullet this time. We'll take the Super Bowl.
True. I think I might prefer the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But we'll start to we'll dive into exactly because Rebel Gray was there also. running Hero Mill. And was it the single die Yoda, single die Rican, single die Jetta? Is that what you were running?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Yeah, so both of them were there, and we'll dissect some of the top deck lists, and then we will go into how both Tommy and Rebel did and kind of where they finished, what their record was, what they saw, all the goodies that come with attending a regional. So the first one I figure we could take a look at would be the winning deck, which was honestly sarcastic, and he coined it the Bro TK, or the BROTK. So basically blue-red OTK. And his deck list is 2 Ancient Lightsabers, 2 Force Illusions, 2 Seeker Droids, 2 Maul's Lightsabers. Supports are 2 Aftermaths. Events are 2 Boundless, 2 Doubts, 2 Enrages, 2 Leadership, 2 Lightsaber Pull, 2 Probes, 2 Rise Agains, 2 Best Defense, 2 Price of Failure, and 2 Trust Your Instincts. So did either of you run into him while you were at the tournament in a match?
Negative. I did not.
No, I didn't either. I watched many of his games in person, not on the stream, but I did not get the chance to play him.
Yeah, so for anybody listening who is interested in seeing some of the top games, Chance Cube streamed, and they also had to be last night, 2 nights ago. They cut up all the videos and posted them on their YouTube page for people to check out, watch. And of course, with Honestly Sarcastic winning, he was on that table a lot. And to be honest, I haven't seen much of OTK. I've read about it, I've heard about it, but I haven't actually watched any gameplay or anybody play it in person. So I was extremely interested to see how it goes. And man, some of those games, it was like absolutely ridiculous. He would roll like, getting out almost 4 to 5 Secret Droids potentially on top of Maul's Lightsaber repeating twice, plus the extra roll-ins. It was just some turns. Like he could blow like 3 characters off the board, and it was absolutely insane. And it was one of those decks too, where it's like you feel like you're about to lose because you're almost at like critical mass of like, oh man, all my characters, both my support characters are about to die. Or the Night Sister's already dead and Sienna's about to die. But then you pull off a leadership and then you pull off a Price of Failure, and next thing you know, opponent's completely dead. Like it seems like a deck where you're kind of walking along that thin line of you could lose, you could win. But when you have a great pilot, like Honestly Sarcastic obviously is, he was able to take it consistently and go undefeated. And I think his 7th sister only died once in that entire tournament. And that was in the top 4 against Joe, who we mentioned earlier, taking the 7th sister and Tarkin. And that was the only game that the 7th sister had died in, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's a super explosive deck, and obviously he's a great pilot, and he knows how to play this deck. It's super well refined, and no matter what was thrown at him that day, he had an answer for it, because this is a deck that is super top tier. It's every deck in every card in the deck is 2 copies, so you can kind of predict the statistics as you go through things. It makes money. It can disrupt with those droids. It can discard for control. It runs probe, which is a really interesting choice to be able to pull things out of the hand, like retreats or hyperspace jumps, things that are going to try to go against his win con to keep him in the round. So overall, very well made deck.
Yeah, he is a wizard with this deck. I mean, he optimizes the Night Sister like nobody's business, and I know he's been doing that for multiple metas now, but it was impressive. It was honestly impressive to see him play this deck, and I do think that it is a powerful deck that we will see more of, but I'm not sure that just anybody is going to be able to pick this up and start playing it anywhere near the level he was. I think this is a deck that's going to require some reps and some testing in certain matchups just to see how you need to play them. But man, it was impressive.
So who would you guys say you try to go for? Do you try to pick off Sienna to take away leadership, the Night Sister for rerolls, or you just try to burn down the 7th sister as quickly possible?
It's such a tough question to answer,
Yeah, I think it's got to be more organic than that. I think you got to have to see where his rolls take him on the Night Sister, and she might be like, if she goes down the 2, you might have to take her with, if you can get like a surprise piece of damage off. I'm not sure how, maybe with like a 4-speed or like a swiftness combo, something to sneak some damage through, or maybe like a Sabine window, or you just get enough to take out one of his characters. I think you take whatever the low-hanging fruit is, because you don't want to commit to Night Sister. Then he drops in, an illusion or, a Rise Again. You could be playing right into that. So it's hard to say. I think you kind of have to be very opportunistic in this matchup. And it depends a lot on what you're playing too.
Yeah. I mean, I think the deck's weakness, and I don't know that he ever saw it in Swiss or how well he tested against it or how often, but I've played against a lot of OTK decks with my mill deck, and I feel like because it's a 20 event deck and it's so event heavy and it's based on that huge combo play stuff, it's very susceptible to hand discard. It's very susceptible to hitting the deck with things like that. Like if you can just get rid of Maul Saber, if you can get rid of things like Boundless, you are much more in that match than you are if you aren't able to control those elements of the game.
I could not agree more. And I tested against it 4, maybe 5 times, and with my Tarkin 7th Sister deck, and the key was I was trying to get in that hand with that double discard off of Tarkin as often as possible. I would use focus sides to get the double discard off. It is paramount to disrupt their hand and take away those combo pieces. It is a combo-driven deck.
Yeah, and if you go back and watch the one game that he lost all day against Joe's Tarkin Sister deck, at some point Joe decides he's going to kind of transition his game a little bit from all that damage into controlling the hand more. And that is what wins him that game. He still wins by a relatively slim margin because Ancient Lightsaber is bouncing back and forth and whatnot. But in that game, it was what changed it was that he decided, I'm going to resolve 2 discards sometimes. I'm not just going to eat the dice for 4 and direct. I'm going to get rid of some of his cards to shut things down, like Price of Failure, not let him reroll and draw a card with or use Best Defense. And that really, really hurts him.
Yeah, absolutely. Watching the stream and seeing that, I mean, he was taking some big plays out of, honestly, Sarcastic's hands with those discard sides. And like you said, I think it's no surprise that the one game where he ended up losing was the game where he was getting his hand discarded. So everybody start running Jabba if you want to beat OTK.
Get those Jabba Tarkins ready to go.
Yeah, for real. They won't see it coming, but then you'll lose everything else in the matchups. So
it's true.
Cool. So, that's honestly Sarcastic's list. Very good deck, very strong deck. Obviously, if he's putting it out and he's bringing it to a tournament, he knows that it has capabilities in it and it's good, and it obviously showed. So anybody getting ready to go to the Connecticut Regional, which I think is the second weekend of March, you're good chance you might see this. So be ready for that. Now we'll take a peek over at Sabine Ezra, which is the Bobby Sapphire list. And this is also the same list that won the Miami, Florida regional. They also, Hyperloops put out a deck tech video with Bobby Sapphire and the winner from Miami, just talking about their deck, talking about their choices and stuff like that. So they'll definitely be able to give you great feedback and, the reasons why they put some cards in their deck and why they didn't. So their deck, they had Outer Rim Outpost as their battlefield. And they had 2 DL44s, 2 Hidden Blasters, 2 Holdout Blasters, 2 Second Chance, 2 X8 Night Snipers. For supports, they had 2 Maz's Vaults, 2 Running Interference, and then for events, they had 16, and they had 1 Confidence, 2 Easy Pickings, 1 Hasty Exit, 2 Hyperspace Jump, 1 Impersonate, 1 Into the Garbage Chute, 2 Lothcats, 2 Never Tell Me the Odds, 1 Scavenge, 2 Truce, and 1 Vandalize. So right off the bat, and even in the deck tech video, they say the one card that you're probably looking at and saying why is Confidence. And it's funny because even Bobby Sapphire references how bad he said that card was, and now here he was putting it in his deck going to regionals. But he said that was just another gray card that wasn't necessarily awful in testing. It'd be nice if somebody rolled out that double focus and there were no big weapons to focus to, so you just confidence that double focus, and suddenly, they're not getting the return that they would have hoped out of that symbol side. So he said it came in clutch at times, but he really was kind of worried just in case he ran into a Kylo 2. It was really just another gray card because he only has 6 with the 2 Hidden Blasters, 2 Holdouts, a Confidence, and Into the Garbage Chute. But as we all know, Sabine can obviously a good pilot behind Sabine is even scarier simply because Sabine can just ambush and cheat out 6 to 9 damage pretty easy, but with Bobby behind her also, it makes it even more of a potent deck. And Tommy, you didn't run into Bobby, did you? Gray, we were talking just before, and I remember you mentioned that was your winner go home matchup.
Yeah, it was my round 7. I'm not sure if it was a winner go home match, but it feels like it might have been because he won against me and he got in. So it feels like it might have been a win and in. But I did run against this, and as everybody knows, if you've played Mill against Sabine, it's basically auto lose, and that's what it was. It was I scooped in round 3. I just felt like it's not going to happen. Let's just end this now, and I'll go home and get some dinner and watch the stream.
I did not either. Well, in contrast, I did not have the chance to play Mike, but I gotta tell you that both Bobby Sapphire and honestly Sarcastic are perfect gentlemen in person. They were super friendly, super accommodating. I spent a good 15 minutes talking to Mike just about life. He had remembered me from Gen Con, and just a very nice guy. Even remembered that, me and my wife were expecting our first child. Just couldn't ask for friendlier people in person to win an event or to play against.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike is definitely he's definitely a cool guy. We took a picture at the end of the tournament. He asked me out to dinner, but he made the cut, so we had to cancel. Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. He found me right away too when he got there. He was like, "I'd recognize that hair anywhere." He saw me across the room and came over and shook my hand and he said hi, and I'm like, "How's it going, Mike?" Yeah. So we talk a lot on Discord.
Man, you got asked on a date? I got to step my game up.
Well, that's what I said. I'm like, so is this a date, Mike? Are you paying?
I got to start showing more leg or something.
Yeah, I got to start wearing more shorts, Tommy. Come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think we have to. I mean, I actually haven't played Sabine Ezra since Empire at War came out. That was one of the first decks I tried messing around with. And I actually just posted a TTS gameplay video of it. And man, I forgot how much Sabine can hurt. Just a few actions, few big damage plays. It's like 5 here, 6 there. And then at that point, when they're about half, or one character's dead, they got one left. A never tell me the odds with run interference. Boom, here's like 12 damage to the face. What are you going to do about it? And at that point, they're probably dead. It's a super, super like aggro action cheat, the damage deck, which can be painful, but other times it can be rough to play against or play with. Sometimes if Sabine decides not to roll, but I think if you play with the deck enough, you'll kind of be able to weave your way around those misrolls or those bad rolls.
Yeah, I think the thing that happened for Sabine Ezra, or just Sabine in general, if you want to look at it that way, is that yellow got a lot of nice defensive / removal tools. In the I guess you could consider Vandalize a form of removal or control, as well as the easy pickings, and then you have the new gray card Into the Garbage Chute, which is nice because it breaks up your mono yellow, and the Maz's Vault is nice too, just because you want to play those big cost events or even upgrades. You want that hyperspace jump. You want to hit that never tell me the odds play off of running interference. It just got enough tools to make it last a little longer and to get the resources to blow you out a little quicker.
Yeah, it's a frightening level of ramp once you get Maz's Vault on a table, and she's already got one weapon, and you've got another one in the discard pile ready to go. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and Maz's Vault especially, I feel like that was one of the cards when it came out. A lot of people looked at it and they're like, "Well, I don't want to give my opponent a resource." And against most decks, if you think about it, most decks are probably planning their 30 cards around that 2 resource that you start off with every round. Whereas other decks aren't going above that. So if you show up at a tournament and your deck is curved for those big costed events and whatnot, and you play Maz's Vault, you're going to get more mileage out of it. And sometimes your opponents will just be sitting on 2, 3, 4 resources and really just not have anything to spend it on. So even though you're giving them resources, as the game goes on, that's probably only helping you more than it is them.
Yeah, I get the sense that like the general public or people who look at spoilers and stuff for the last couple of sets have been really off about their predictions on things. Like last set it was Chance Cube. People were like, "Oh, Chance Cube is really bad. No one's going to play that." And I was just like, "It's a great card." And Maz's Vault is kind of the same thing. Like people are like, "No one's going to play this," but you look at it in a Sabine Ezra shell or a Sabine deck in general. If it's more to your advantage to have 3 resources and have every card in your deck online out of hand immediately, that is better than a lot of things out there.
Yeah. And I think the only, and like I said, it's generally not going to help your opponent, but actually at my weekly tournament, I had it played down against me first round and I still lost the game against Zebre. But a Kylo Towson deck also gets starting with 3 resources every round was super nice because it helped me pay for things that I generally can't afford. But most of the times it's not going to be something that's hurting you. You're generally going to get more mileage, like you said, out of the Never Tell Me the Odds and, playing Second Chance, playing heavy blaster pistols, the DL44s and all that good stuff. So it's definitely much
you're
better.
Planning for it. Your deck's built around having that extra resource where your opponent, it's like, "Oh, that's nice. I have an extra resource. I can make some use of that somehow." But you've actually got your deck built with that in mind.
Yep. So really good deck. Took second at New Jersey, won Miami. If you want to see more in depth about that, take a peek over at the Hyperloops. Bobby Sapphire posted a deck tech video with the winner from Miami. So go check that out. And another deck. Well, so in third place, we have Joe with the Tarkin 7 Sister. And Tommy, your deck was similar to that. I don't know if how much you want to go into that, or if you want to talk about some differences between yours and Joe's deck and what you guys decided was better for your style of play or anything like that. If just whatever you want to mention.
Yeah, our decks mainly differed on the removal package. Outside of that, I tried to favor the cheaper removal, where Joe had more one-cost removal. I think upgrade-wise, we were pretty much on the same page. He made some last-minute changes. He was running like promotion and some wonky ones, but I think he came around toward my end of the upgrades and started teching in Vibro, just because we were using all the zero-cost upgrades: 2 Holocron, 2 Chance Cube, 2 4-speed. He actually may be running 1 4-speed, I don't recall. But with the 4-speed and focus sides, you were able to get a nice chunk of like 4 or 5 melee damage off in a flash, all unblockable with that Vibro knife. It was really great at finishing off that character that they didn't really anticipate dying that quick, because they were shielded up with a caution or something. It was a nice tech piece we had in there. He was also, I think, running lightsaber throw, which I wound up taking out. We've talked about Scorched Earth on here multiple times. We love Scorched Earth. We thought Scorched Earth was the bee's knees, and his battlefield was also different than mine. So we were probably maybe 8 cards different if you count the battlefield, something along those lines. I was running Stronger You Have Become. I don't think he was. That was the one difference in removal. I don't remember what he was using in place of that, though. But yeah, we both had Ancient Lightsabers, Chance Cubes, Force Illusions. We both ran Force Lightning, Holocron, Force Speed, and Vibro Knife as our upgrade package. But it tested well. Me and Joe must have played upwards of 30, 40 games against each other, both either in Mira, or I would play vehicles, he would play, Poe, Honda, whatever it was. We were mixing it up and trying lots of things. But he was my main playtest partner, mostly because he could just grind out a game in 30 seconds if he wanted.
Yeah, he's ready at all times for testing. So
yes, he is.
He's definitely a good partner to have. So yeah, he did well. He can walk home saying he was the only person to kill the Seven Sister in Honestly Sarcastic deck.
He's a really good player, and he's not afraid to come up with his own ideas. He doesn't like to conform. If you really have to prove him wrong for him to conform, and he actually almost didn't take Tarkin Seven Sister. About a week out from the event, he was like, "I'm done. I went 0-3 at the weekly. I lost to 5 battle droids." Tom, I'm like, "Well, 5 battle droids isn't exactly a great matchup for you. That's a lot of life for you to cut through. Plus, they're bringing them back." But he was off the deep end, did not feel like it was the deck. And then, he came over and he brought some strange stuff, and I kind of talked him back into Tarkin Seven Sister.
Right after he lost to the 5 battle droids, the pilot of the 5 battle droids looked up and he's like, "Wow, that's the first game I've won with this deck." And Joe was like, "That's not what I want to hear."
That feels good.
And then there's Joe taking 3rd at a regional. That's pretty good, man.
Yeah, so he did well with that. Joe's a really good player. If you remember Star Wars Destiny or Star Wars Destiny discussions, you probably hate him though. So,
oh yeah.
All right, moving on to the other top 4. We have I mentioned, I don't have his name, but he was the Elite Ayla, Elite Potu, and as I mentioned before, he's a good player. I played against him back at Store Championships season. It was the same weekend as Gen Con, so a lot of people were gone, but there was a Store Championship up in North Jersey, and he beat me with Poe Ray in an insane play. He had such a good board setup. Like, he had a Force Throw and 2 handcrafted light bows on Ray. He rolled out Poe, and this is the original Poe and original Ray. Of course, it was before the 2-player set.
It's the OG.
Yeah, and so he rolls out and has everything in his pool. He gets a special on Poe. He throws a 1 with the Force for the 3 focus to turn the handcrafted to his special, the other handcrafted to his special, and the Force Throw to his special. So he resolves the first handcrafted, removes all 3 shields from my Han, and then does 2 damage, does 3 damage with the other handcrafted, and then Force throws my 3-for-1 range damage at me for a total of 11 damage, right? And at that point, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this game's over. I could probably play a second chance and make it go on, but I'm pretty sure he got this. So he was a really good player, and it's no surprise to see him top 4 with, I guess, another red-blue combo. So he ran Poe Ayla. His battlefield was Frozen Waste. He was able to run the Profitable Connections plot, which starts him with an additional resource. And he had 10 upgrades with 2 Canobites, 2 Force Illusions, 2 Force Speeds, 2 handcrafted light bows, 2 Poe Dameron's blasters. He had 2 supports with Planetary Uprising And they had 18 events with 2 all-ins, 2 cautions, 2 defensive positions, 1 deflect, 2 field medic, 2 force misdirection, 2 hit and run, 2 logistics, 1 overconfidence, 1 retreat, and 1 riposte. So first looking at it, what surprises me is that there's only 2, 4, 6 specials or upgrades that can do damage. So it seems like it's almost a little bit light on the damage front, but I guess he's claiming so fast and doing damage with planetary, and his removal is pretty good if he's claiming every time with frozen waste. So, I didn't see any gameplay videos or anything like that, but off the bat, I mean, that's what he's probably looking to do. He's probably rolling out all his dice, resolving them real quick, removing a few of yours, and then claiming and going to the next round.
Yeah, I'd say that's the game plan for this deck.
Yeah, it's almost a little bit of a shell, I guess, of R2P2. Maybe not as shield heavy and more focused on, quick. Like, obviously, some R2P2s had like medical droids and C3PO and stuff like that. Whereas it looks like this pilot was just trying to get in and get out. And that profitable connection is pretty awesome, being able to play, a handcrafted light bow first turn or a pose blaster and, still have a resource to do whatever he would like. Just seems good. But I don't know how, I wonder how well if this was more of like a surprise matchup for people, as we haven't really seen too much of Poe Ayla together yet, or if it's something that could be potentially like a real deal, making top 8s consistently or anything. Both of them are obviously good characters, as we've said before, but with only 20 or 21 health, not too crazy shield generation. I mean, he does of course have force illusions and field medics and cautions, but it'll be interesting to see how this deck does in the long run of the Legacy's regional life.
Yeah, I mean, this deck's trying to kill you hard and fast, right? Everything here is doing 2 to 3 damage every single round, and if you can put out 6 damage a round, maybe even 8 damage a round with planetaries, that's a crap load of damage to deal with.
Yeah, it's definitely built on speed. I agree, and I think a lot of the removal package is favoring it's not necessarily removal; it's more sustain. It's like, I'll take this damage, but then I'll field medic it, or I'll take some damage, then I'll caution it. So it's got it's more of a, you're gonna do what you're gonna do, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna outlast you.
Yep, yeah, and it's got frozen waste on the claim, so I mean, it's helping itself quite a bit.
Yeah, so. Super interesting deck. Poe Ayla, a good player behind it also, so congratulations to him for making that top 4. Going down, there's another Tarkin 7 sister, and then there's Sabine Kanan. We do not have those lists, but going down further, we have the vehicles, the Yoda, Maz, and Hera deck, and this is our buddy Riggs, who in our first few episodes when we were talking about previous regionals from Empire at War, he gave us an earful when we told him that vehicle decks weren't very good, but we were like, whoa. We were just saying it for Empire at War. We'll see how Legacies turns out. He's been riding high on vehicles for a while, so he knows this deck in and out, and he stomped me on several occasions on Monday nights. So again, he was running a single die Maz, single die Hera, 2 Yoda, Elite Yoda, sorry. Battlefield was Weapon Factory Alpha, and he had a single C-3PO, 1 Millennium Falcon, and that's the new 4-cost one from the starter set, 2 Pirate Speeder Tanks, 2 Quad Jumpers, 1 R2-D2 from Legacies, 2 Rally Aid, 2 Republic Cruiser, 2 Resistance Bomber, 2 Suppression Field, 2 T-47 Air Speeders, 2 U-Wings, 2 Y-Wings, 2 Cautions, getting into events here, 2 Cautions, 1 Easy Pickings, 2 Pin Down, 2 Strategic Planning, and 2 Vandalize, and he calls it the Maserati Toyota dealership.
That's a very Riggs name for it.
Absolutely. And what's interesting too about this, I mean, if you look at the normal 5-die hero, you don't see the Pirate Speeder Tank and you don't see the U-Wings because they're generally playing the cheaper cost, but here he's opting for those bigger damage ones.
Yeah, I think he's hoping to hit the Hera special for a quad jumper and then transitioning that into, a 4 or 5 cost support. I think that's his game plan. I actually played Riggs in the final round of Swiss, lost to him. He set up very nicely and I could not cut through the shields and I went down, but I know he played at least 1 quad jumper off of Hera's ability, and the Rally Aid, double Rally Aid on turn 1 is also very brutal. So
oh yeah,
that one was lost early, but it's built around ramping. Any deck that is only using 9 events and that many dice supports, you're basically all in on just putting more dice out than your opponent and doing more damage.
Oh yeah, all in is the way to look at it, because this deck has 3 removal cards in it, and that is it. The whole game, it literally removes 4 dice. That is it. That's outside the vandalizes. So you are looking to get your board flooded with dice and just destroy them in 2.5 rounds at this point, because if you don't get there, you're probably losing characters.
Yeah, and I remember even talking with him, and I think he even has it in his write-up that he has on Star Wars Destiny database. He almost views Yoda as like a little trap for opponents, right? Most people go for him first sometimes, thinking he might be the big thing in the deck. He has 2 dice, but really he's always looking to get that Hera special off, and Ma's focusing into that. And, he seemed to do well. And, making top 8, of course, speaks volumes of how that deck was piloted and how it worked. But it's interesting to see yet again another take on hero vehicles that isn't what we have come to expect.
Yeah, that has a lot of supports. 21 supports in a deck is insane.
And it's interesting too, because I think it was actually against Riggs. He played against Bobby Sapphire in top 8, I believe, if I'm connecting the dots correctly. And Bobby Sapphire had said that he had played that, and at one point I think Riggs pitched to reroll a suppression field. He felt suppression field really hurt Sabine. And at some point, I guess Riggs pitched to re-roll that, and Bobby Sapphire got really happy to see that. So I don't know. I wonder if those removal types where it stays on the board and can eat 1 or 2 dice, potentially, because you could eat the 2 from Sabine and then eat the 3 next time. So I wonder if that's a good call. That and Honor Guard are a good call against Sabine. I don't know.
For sure, they definitely are, because he's gonna running interference on play cards. So if you've got those on the board already, you can use the action. So suppression field is a good play against Sabine.
I mean, it's not like Riggs is gonna have the removal to be able to play when Bobby uses the running interference from hand, because like Rebel said, he's only got 3 removal cards in the whole deck.
Yeah.
If you're not counting the suppression field. So I don't think he was taking a very defensive approach. But I agree. I think suppression field is a good counter to running interference in general. Also, there's high value die side. So you can eat a 2, and then on the following turn you eat a 3, and you've, made your money back.
Oh yeah. Getting rid of 5 damage for $2, that's great.
Yeah, so performed well, good stuff. And if you're running Hero Red and you're worried about Sabine, that's a possible good card or 2 to include against it. And then the last one that we have, and again, like I said, Riggs was from our local meta, so it's good to see him doing well. And the last one, also from our local meta, is the 5-die villain, and this is piloted by Cody. And his team he had was a First Order Stormtrooper, Elite Balatik, Elite Mother Talzin. His battlefield was Ewok Village. His upgrades were 2 DH-17 blaster pistols, 2 Force Illusions, 2 holdouts, 2 LL-30s, 1 on the hunt, 2 backup muscles, 2 all-in, 2 bait and switch, 1 Feel Your Anger, 2 Flanks, 2 Friends in Low Places, 2 Frightens, 2 He Doesn't Like You, 1 Overconfidence, 2 Price of Failure, 2 Truce, and 1 Vandalize. So obviously looking at this deck right off the bat, it doesn't seem he's going as all in as some people have gone in, the 16-14 split, rather than a lot of people say if you're doing Talzin, you should be around 24 to 26 if you want to get that consistency out of her. So he was going for maybe some better cards, better resource management, with some 0 cost removal, like he has the He Doesn't Like You. And then, for offense too, with bait and switch and stuff like that. So and better weapons with holdout and LL-30. So it was interesting to see him do that. I think round 7, that last round, he played against Honestly Sarcastic and lost against him. And I believe that's on the Chance Cube stream also.
One thing that I find kind of interesting is the exclusion of best defense, simply because you would be removing 2 dice, putting 3 damage on your trooper, which is probably your Price of Failure target. And I know in conversations with Cody throughout the day, he said he was going for Price of Failure sometimes on 1, if not 1, he was going for it on turn 2, most certainly. And I feel like best defense would be a really good value in that situation. They're probably not targeting the trooper, which means you're spreading out the damage, and then you're going to, remove that trooper anyway to ready Talzin or Bala, or maybe both, depending on if you get a kill out of that reactivation. So I feel like that's one thing that I'm surprised he didn't have that. This is my first glance at the deck list. That's just one thing I noticed. I don't know. Maybe Cody obviously had a great day, so I'm not taking anything away. That's just one thing that I'm thinking.
No, I that's the first thing I saw too. I mean, the only red he's got is a DH-17 in the entire deck. So, running the Stormtrooper, you generally do that just for that 4 dice removal, and it's still an odd cost. And I feel like you could drop an all in this out of this deck, maybe a flank, maybe even the Vandalize if you didn't get a lot of mileage out of it, because the Vandalize is actually working against your win con, right? It's taking dice off the table. You don't necessarily want that, but if it's going to hit something big like an Ancient Lightsaber or an Obi-Wan Saber, then it's worth it.
Yeah, or maybe an Illusion, something like that.
Yeah, an Illusion. I mean, he's got a lot of shield hate here too, which is great. He's got On the Hunts. He's got 2 Frightens. He's running that over Intimidate. So Yeah, Ewok Village has tons and tons of shield hate, so he's definitely going for roll everything out, hope to get a couple of focuses, all in, do big damage, get out of the round.
Yeah, I wonder if he's worried. If he is, like you said, he was trying to do that price of failure turn 1 or turn 2. Maybe he's just worried, that best defense becomes useless after that. I don't know. That's something he would have to talk about, because if he's price of failure and that trooper real early and doesn't see it, but I mean, again, I don't know. I don't know his thought process on that, but still performed well.
Yeah, maybe he's just looking to not have a dead card later in the game. But I mean, if you're pulling off a price of failure on turn 2, I don't think the game's going that long.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So again, congratulations to Cody for making that last spot in the top 8. So it was really good to see us represented pretty well, Tommy. I think we had, how many people from our local did we have? The 3 that made it, and then you, Pete, John, Brian. I think there were 7.
There was Frenchie was there as well.
Frenchie, 8 of us. So it was cool. Yeah, it was cool to just see some of our guys kind of go up and, perform well. Not that they're necessarily Golden Dice people, but people that we play with, generally on a weekly basis. So
hey, Riggs gave us a shout out in his little write up.
That's true.
Said from the Golden Dice meta, which was very flattering. We love you, Riggs.
Yeah. At this point, we went through the top, went through some of those deck lists. So Rebel, I don't know if you want to kick us off a little bit and kind of say, talk about your day a little bit. You can say what matchups you had and, how you felt bringing Hero Mill and going forward, what that means. So whatever you're feeling.
Bringing Hero Mill was what I was most comfortable with. I was thinking about vehicles, but Hero Mill was really where I wanted to go with things. And it's a deck I've been playing since Empire, so I felt like I'm going to stick with something that I really know. And my day was okay. I mean, I went 4-3. My two of my losses were to Sabine deck, so I kind of I think of those things as auto losses. I really don't concern myself too much with Sabine losses. My other loss was in round 1 to an Obi Maz, and the rest of the day I ate up any of the hero vehicle decks I saw. I played against 2 of them. Took them out. So I feel like Mill is a really good counter to that, because it's just positioned really well. And everyone's talking about, Hero Mill is so good. It's coming up the ranks, but if you take a deep look at the Swiss rounds, they're so important for determining, or not determine. Obviously, they're good. They determine what's top 16 and top 8, but the matchups matter. If you look at these really successful decks over the past couple of weeks that are Hero Mill, they're getting to the finals and the top 4 and top 8 because they're not actually running into a lot of Sabine decks. If you look at the guy from Portland, he didn't play a Sabine deck all day. If you look at the guy who took Wisconsin, didn't play a Sabine deck all day. Even the guy in Miami, he's only 2 losses in the Swiss, were 2 Sabine decks. So what I think that illustrates is that we have this great meta where there's almost like this rock, paper, scissors thing going on, and Mill and Sabine are right there.
Lizard spot
you do.
You do.
There's a lot. It's an interesting play on how all these decks are coming in, and Mill is positioned really well, but like any other deck, it has something that it gets crushed by pretty significantly.
Yeah, I think that's a really good spot to be for Star Wars Destiny right now. I think we've come to a long way, and only time will tell. But if it remains like this, I don't think you could ask for much more, outside of the fact that you just need to spend so much time playtesting all these different looks and matchups that you're going to see.
Yeah, I mean, you look back to Awakenings, there were probably 4 really competitive decks. It's a Qui-Gon deck, Phasma, Vader Raider, Jango Veers. As you moved into SOR, there was 2 competitive decks. EAW is kind of strange, but it ended up being R2P2 on top. And now you're looking at a meta where there's just so many decks. So many decks.
Yeah, I've got mine in like 2 weeks, and it's just like, I could bring this, but then I'll be countered by this. What if I see that? But then I might see this. It's just like so many options, and it's definitely better, right? Going back to Spirit Bound, like you said, it's like, all right, I'll bring this deck. I have one of 2 choices if I want to win. And we're at the point, like you said, there's like 7 or 8 viable options. Okay, Tommy, so you said you came in 9th, right?
Yeah, I did.
By 0.04 strength of schedule. Tom. Is that correct?
0.00402. John figured out the exact math, and the only reason it was very disappointing for me. I lost in the last round of Riggs, getting paired up with a metamate. But the disappointing part was, at the end of the day, I looked around the room, and they had 2 separate rooms. They had the top 11 tables were in a separate space from the rest of the event, and I played two games in the main hall where the majority of the tables were, and the rest of my 5 rounds were spent at the other room in that space there. And after the last round, I lost to Riggs, and I was disappointed, but at the same time, I was happy for Riggs because I knew he was going to get in. And I looked around the room, and I noticed that 5 of the people I had played throughout the event were at the top 11 tables. So I thought, you know what, I still got a really good chance. I knew that there was going to be 2 or 3 5-3 players getting into the top 8. So I felt good about my chances. And then, when we went back to the other hall and they announced the top 8 and my name was not called, it was a little, disappointing. I put a lot of pressure on myself to try to do well. And Jack, he's been hounding me nonstop. So it was definitely disappointing. But, I had a great time. I'm just going to recap a couple things. I played Katie from New England in the first round. She was playing Boba Phasma. It was a quick game. It was, we were both playing you live by the knife, you die by the knife. We just both were blazing a trail of damage. The second round, I played Rich, which I think is a local to the Highlander store, so you may know him, Rebel Gray.
Yeah,
He was playing the Yoda Sabine deck.
Yep.
And I can honestly say I have never been rolled off the table harder, except for maybe by Tiny Grimes at Gen Con. It was, 8 damage round 1. I play an illusion and ancient lightsaber at the end of the round to, mitigate some of that incoming next round. Next round, it's 9 damage unmitigatable. My 7 sister's dead. Tarkin's got damage on him now. And the third round was no different. Rich is a great guy, though. He was very friendly throughout the whole thing. And he just, he's like, sometimes that's the way it goes. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, sometimes that's the way it goes. So I hope I didn't give him a negative play experience at all. I think I took it pretty jovially. But so that sent me back to the main hall when I played Drew, who actually won, I think, like the West Virginia regional or something. He was playing Hero Mill. Yep. I managed to win that game. It turns out he's a local guy to our area. He's from Glassboro, New Jersey, and he's going to start trying to attend the Top Deck Monday nights as well. He said Wednesdays is bad, awesome. So he's not going to be able to make all the King's Men, but he'll be attending the Top Deck tournaments. In the fourth round, I got paired with another one of our locals, Frenchie, who was playing Zeb Ray, and that was just an aggro fest again. It was over, I think second action of round 3 because I tactical masteried and resolved a Tarkin power action. I played Isaac, who was playing Potu and Yoda. What is that, round 5? Isaac actually, I think, got top 4 at Nationals. He's an incredibly talented young man.
He really is.
Very, very bright. And then in the 6th round, I played a gentleman by the name of Travis, who was playing Sabine Ezra. He rolled considerably worse than Rich, which allowed me some windows to mitigate some dice and turn the heat up high enough with my indirect damage to make it through that game. And in the last round, I played Riggs, who was playing Yoda Haramaz. And the key in my mind for why I lost this game is because I elected to take his battlefield, which didn't necessarily play a big role in his ramp, but it did hurt me in the fact that the game went about 6 rounds, and I claimed every round. If I was on Ewok Village, I definitely would have been clearing shields out much easier, and maybe it would have been enough to squeak out the win. But Riggs played great, and man, he ramped hard with that double caution turn 1 and turn 2, and double rally 8. It was a nightmare for me. But congratulations to those guys who got top 8, and thank you to all my opponents. Everybody was so wonderful to play. I had nothing but good experiences in every round, except for Frenchie. Frenchie's a jerk.
Agreed.
Total jerk. He won't listen to this, so it doesn't matter. Nah, Frenchie's the best. I love him. I can't understand anything he says, but I love him.
He was the Zeb Ray that I lost to first round on Monday, and it's like he hasn't showed up in like 4 weeks to a tournament. He shows up and just kicks my butt. I'm like, Frenchie, I hate you.
I love that he introduces himself as Frenchie. It's just great. I love him. He's just such a great guy, and he's got a contagious smile, and he's just a good great player to be around.
He sounds awesome.
Yeah. So it sounds like all around is a good time on Saturday.
Yeah, it was a blast. I had a great time. It was great to meet you too, Rebel Gray. I didn't get to catch up with you later in the event, but it was nice to meet you, and I do love that store, and hopefully after everything settles down and I get situated with my wife and our child here whenever he comes, then I'll be able to make some treks up there, and we'll get to catch up on a Saturday.
Totally. Yeah, no, I'm totally down for that. I love playing Destiny.
I think I'd have to make one of those big, because I always see it in the Facebook page, the South Jersey, Philadelphia, and I'm also in like the New York tri-state area one too, and I always see it posted. I just haven't been able to to make my way up. Because at the time, was it like an hour and a half, hour 45-minute trek
it's
from
pretty
us?
close to 2 hours for us. It's pretty
Two
far.
hours.
Yeah, it's about an hour for me because I live in New York, but it's worth the trip every Wednesday night to and from.
Wow, that's commitment. That must be a good meta.
Yeah.
It is. It's a very good meta. Yeah.
Yeah, we're spoiled. I mean, I have 2 within a half hour. I can't make the Wednesday nights because I work Wednesday nights, but the Mondays is a half hour for me. So definitely spoiled a little bit with the closeness of South Jersey things. But yeah, so I've heard all good things, and even the store itself gave out promos, I believe.
Yes,
is that correct?
Yeah, they were really cool looking.
Friends in Low Places, I believe, and what was the
Outer Rim Cantina.
Okay. Yeah, so the Battlefield.
Yeah, Scott is an amazing store owner. I started going there in July last year, and the experience has just been so welcoming. Like new players, old players, he treats you like family. You go there, he loves Destiny so much. It's like his main game. And it's great to have a store owner that's so invested in his own community. He loves doing events, loves meeting people, loves giving out stuff. He's just super awesome. Super awesome. And he's renovating the store, so it's going to look even nicer in a month, 2 months,
That's awesome. That's so good to hear for the community and stuff too. And even on Monday nights, like just seeing the store by us where we go for Top Deck, they just got like a whole shelf, and now Destiny's got like a whole section to itself, which is really cool to see store owners, giving that space to the community and promoting that growth and stuff like that. So Destiny's definitely in a good spot right now. With that, I mean, and that brings us to the spot of Destiny. And we've mentioned it a little bit earlier about the rock, paper, scissors meta, but we can kind of dive in and just quick thoughts on kind of where you think the game's at. And I'll read off real quick the winning decks so far from all the Legacies legal regionals that we've had so far. Right now I have Texas was the Elite Ayla Padawan. There was a Nova Scotia in Canada that had a Tarkin 7 Sister. Portland had the Potu Hondo. California and Kentucky had Elite Ayla, Elite Rose Ezra, the hero vehicles. Wisconsin had the Riken Yoda Jeddah. Ontario, Canada had Isabine Yoda. Florida had Isabine E. Ezra. And then New Jersey, of course, had the Bro TK deck, the Seven Sister Sienna Night Sister. And there were a few others, but I didn't get enough information to where I felt comfortable putting them on because all I saw was the winners, but I had no idea how many people attended or even where it was and stuff like that. So maybe for next week, we'll have that all squared away. But so far, with all these regionals, the only repeat is the hero vehicles. And of course, Sabine was a repeat, but 2 different flavors of the deck, one with Yoda, one with Ezra. And I think that just goes to show that we are currently at a good spot of these decks. I really don't see any one deck, any one variance running away with anything. I don't think we'll get at a point right now with a similar situation with FN or POMAS where people are just showing up with 2 different decks and duking it out. I feel like this it'll be very stressful going up to a regional, which I have in 2 weeks. I don't know what people will be running, what will counter it. Are they going to counter the last week's meta? Or are they going to run the counter to the counter? It's a lot of good options. And I think Destiny going forward, this is probably the best spot that it's been in for a while. And as mentioned earlier, if it could stay like this, I think that would be fantastic for the game.
Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about the variety of decks, and you talked about that variance too. Every one of these decks that you're looking at has another character that you could throw in differently, do something a little different with it. People say hero vehicles. Well, hero vehicles has like 2 or 3 combinations that work with it right now. And even Hero Mill has 2 or 3 combinations that work with it right now. Sabine, she's got 3 different partners to choose from, Like there's a lot of variety in Destiny right now. And for the people who are outside, on the outside looking in and saying, oh, there's a new set and I've missed all these other sets and I don't know what to do. Don't think of that at all. Just go into your store, see if they have legacies, if there's already a play group or you can get someone established and play, because this is one of the best times to be playing Destiny right now.
I could not agree more. That is so true, man. It is so much fun right now, and I am so disappointed that I wet the bed so hard, and I just want to do it again every weekend, and I know that my real life is not going to allow that, but it is a great time to be playing Star Wars Destiny, and it is a welcoming meta. It's not oppressive at all. You never know what you're going to see, and there is plenty of room for innovation at this point as well. I think that like you referenced, Rebel, you can change characters up, you can come up with your own ideas, and I don't think we have seen the end of unique decks to win a regional for this meta yet. I wouldn't be surprised if we tacked 4 more decks onto that list by the end of regional season. I think it's insane. It's so encouraging for the life of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare that a new meta comes up and you figured out the best deck within 30 days, and we are about 30 days, maybe a little more into legacies now. There's going to be new stuff. I mean, we're not getting a new set probably till end of March at the earliest, April, maybe even May if they're going to do the May 4th release again. There's so much time right now to mess around with decks, try out the jank, maybe it works. Just play Destiny because it's such a fun game.
Yeah, and if you're entering into the game, there's great ways to get into it too. Like if you're worried about, as you mentioned, going into standard and you don't have those first 3 sets, that first block of Awakenings, you could just do draft, collect cards through draft. Draft is fantastic. And then you could just go into trilogies from there. I know trilogies is starting to pick up a little bit. Like I know a few Galactic qualifiers are going to be trilogies format. So it's just a great way. It's a great option for people just getting in the game too. They don't have to feel overwhelmed with 1,000 cards or whatever there might be that's floating around right now. This will limit it to them to the 200 or 300 or however many there are right now in legacies. So there's definitely options for people getting into the game. So I wouldn't be afraid. And I think it's just a perfect time right now.
Yeah. I mean, we got draft now too, that's such a great collection building type of format. So, and if you play draft with experienced players, and even if you lose, chances are they're going to be like, I don't want these rares, and you're going to get them all.
Yeah, people are, even if you do the legacies thing, people are going to help you round out your collections. They're going to be like, oh, you don't have, Feel Your Anger or Event X. Oh, I got 7 of them. Here's 2. You know what I mean? People are so welcoming in this community. I'm speaking from what I've seen from our meta and just the quality of people we encountered at the Boonton Regional. Like, it is just a friendly group of people, and I can't speak highly enough about this game right now. And it really is getting in on the ground floor, because Legacies is a different kind of base set. It is like, it had the vision, it's thought out, it is balanced, it looks fantastic top to bottom, and it is the perfect time to start playing.
Absolutely. Yep. And I think these white boxes look so much cooler than the black boxes.
They do.
They look very sharp. Yes, they do.
Cool. So, that just about wraps up kind of what we had planned. I figured it was a great opportunity to have Rebel Gray on the show, as both him and Tommy were at the Boonton Regional. Upcoming this weekend, if my information is correct, there's going to be 3 regionals, and only one of them is in the United States in Illinois. But then we have one in Montreal, in Quebec, Canada, and then another one in the UK in Crediton. I don't know if that's how you say it, but either way, there'll be a few more things, but not as crazy as it had been previous weeks, where there'd be 3 or 4 regionals in the United States at one time for all of our US listeners, but still good stuff to dissect. So Rebel, it was such a pleasure having you on, man. I don't know if there's anything that you would like to plug right now. Feel free to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on. It's awesome to be a guest on a podcast. I love doing that kind of stuff. For anyone who wants to check out my stuff, if you're not already checking it out, I do YouTube videos. That's my right now my only form of content that I do. I have a Facebook page, obviously the YouTube, Twitter. I have a Patreon. You can find me at Rebel Gray SWD. That's Gray with an E. Everywhere, basically. I'm also setting up some stuff for Twitch in the near future, and I might even be doing a podcast this year. I don't know. We'll see.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to that, because I am a subscriber for your YouTube channel, and the quality of stuff you put out is awesome.
Well, I'll have to have you guys on as if I invite you guys on, I got to invite both of you, or just
you can invite Jack. I won't get offended. It's okay.
Okay.
We'll send you Shane. You can have my brother.
You know what? I got to say something. All right, because I wrote this down. I'm like, I got to mention this. You guys were slamming Shane like for 5 episodes. Dude comes on last episode. I'm driving home listening to your show, and I'm like, I like the way this guy thinks. Shane's not that bad.
Nah, he's great. We just like to bust his chops a little bit. He's awesome. He actually is one of the first people I get to look at my lists, because he has a different way of thinking about the game, and he sees things differently than a lot of players, and he's a great pair of eyes to look something over or give you an inside take on something. So he's great. We that's all in jest, everything we say about him.
I think Shane and I have something in common. I like building those crazy jank decks, and when I heard that segment last episode, I'm like, this guy is like where's he been all my life? Like, I want to know this guy. He sounds cool.
I almost got him to go to Boonton. You could have met him, but
it's just going to invite Shane, forget us, and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll have him on my podcast.
It was great.
Yeah.
I got to yell at him the other day, though, because I tried out his Thrawn Towson deck against Hero Vehicles on TTS, and I lost. So I texted him right away. I was like, I fully blame you. I piloted perfection. There's nothing I could have done. It was the deck. No, it actually wasn't half bad. So if anybody has tried that out yet, definitely let us know. Shane would honestly love to hear if anybody had tried that yet. And yeah, it was actually a super close game. I like the deck. Shane did something good for once. I'm proud of him. He's going places. But
That's my endorsement.
Well, that's probably about the only thing he has going for him.
Whatever
right now.
that's worth.
Again, Rebel, thank you so much for coming on. For anybody that's looking to figure out where to find him on all those things that he mentioned, we'll have a few links up to his Facebook or whatever he would like to send me and whatnot. So you guys will easily be able to find him and follow him and absorb all the knowledge that he has about this game and whatnot. So with that, I thank you to our listeners for following us. And again, of course, we have a YouTube page. If you're listening to us, we also have iTunes and Google Play. So whatever you're listening on, there are other options too, if it's easier for you. And we also just got on to Top Deck TCG, which is a website you can buy cards and listen to and find other podcasts also, I believe. And the website is topdecktcg.com. And we got a promo for ourselves, Golden Dice 10. That'll get you 10% off your entire order. They not only have cards from every set, but they have promos for you to buy also. So it's definitely something you guys can check out as a good resource for other podcasts, but also a way to kind of fill out your collection if need be. But until next time, I will catch you guys later.